Inside Fort Dix prison, Diddy was making promises. He told the men around him, "Don't worry, Trump is getting me out of here. I'll take care of you when I'm gone." Then January came, and the pardon never came. On April 9th, 2026, 3 federal judges will decide whether Sean Combs walks out of prison early or stays until 2028. Nobody knows which way they'll go. This is everything that happened to get to that moment. Subscribe right now. We're just getting started. May 2025, Manhattan Federal Court. The most watched trial in years. The government threw everything at Sean Combs. Sex trafficking, racketeering, a criminal empire. They wanted to put him away for over 11 years. Then something unexpected happened. The jury said no, not guilty on sex trafficking, not guilty on racketeering. For about 30 seconds, it looked like Diddy might walk free. Then came the 2 words that changed everything. Guilty. Guilty on 2 counts of the Mann Act, transporting people across state lines for illegal purposes. The specific victim on 1 count? His ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. The same woman whose hotel surveillance footage showing Combs assaulting her in a hallway had already destroyed his reputation before a single trial date was set. The prosecutors wanted 11+ years. His lawyers asked for 14 months, time already served. The judge, Arun Subramanian, sentenced him to 50 months. 4 years and 2 months, with a $500,000 fine on top. Combs stood in that courtroom and told the judge, "I am sober for the first time in 25 years. The old me died in jail. A new me was reborn." Nobody in that courtroom knew quite what to believe. October 30th, 2025. Combs is transferred from the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn to FCI Fort Dix in New Jersey, about an hour from Philadelphia, about 80 miles from Manhattan. His lawyers chose it on purpose. There's a drug treatment program there, and it's close enough for family visits. But here is what those lawyers didn't put in the press release. Fort Dix is not a quiet place. It is the single largest federal prison in the United States. Over 4,000 inmates. Not in cells. In open military barracks, 12 men per dorm, 6 bunk beds, 1 metal locker each, 1 communal bathroom per floor. Former inmates have called it a zoo, an insane asylum. One man, Joe Giudice, from the reality TV show Real Housewives of New Jersey, told Fox News he personally watched stabbings happen on the prison track during his time there. There are not enough guards. Reports suggest roughly 1 officer for every 10 inmates on some shifts. Contraband drugs move through the facility. Illegal phones, too. This is where Sean Combs sleeps now, in a bunk, next to 11 other men. In federal prison, you work. Everyone works. Diddy's first assignment, the laundry room. Industrial machines, sorting uniforms, loading dryers. At some point in his first weeks at Fort Dix, TMZ obtained video footage of him doing exactly that. Gray knit cap on his head, gray prison uniform, moving through his shift like any other inmate. Later, he was moved to what is considered one of the most coveted jobs in any federal prison, chaplain's assistant. He maintains the religious library, cleans the chaplain's office, helps manage records, assists during services. But somewhere in those first weeks, things got complicated. On November 3rd, 2025, his 56th birthday, Combs made a 3-way phone call. Federal prisons ban those. They exist for one specific reason, so inmates cannot coordinate with people on the outside without being monitored. Prison officials said it was a serious offense showing disregard for the rules. Recommended punishment, 90 days with no phone. 90 days with no commissary. Then came the alcohol story. TMZ reported that Combs was found with homemade prison alcohol, Hoach, made from Fanta, sugar, and apples, fermented for 2 weeks. Officials reportedly planned to move him to a different unit, but reversed the decision. His legal team denied the story flat out. Here's where it gets interesting. At his sentencing, Combs had told a judge he was sober for the first time in a quarter-century. The Hoach story, true or not, landed in a very different way. Drop a comment below. Do you think Diddy is genuinely changed, or is this all an act? We read every single one. Here's one of the strangest chapters in this story. Shortly after arriving at Fort Dix, word spread among the inmates. Diddy was telling people Donald Trump was going to pardon him. Early 2026. He'd be out. He even allegedly made promises to take care of fellow inmates once he got out. This was not just prison gossip. His own attorney, Nicole Westmoreland, confirmed she had approached the White House about a pardon. And Trump himself confirmed publicly in October 2025 that Combs had asked him for one, saying, quote, "I'll take a look at it." Then, in January 2026, Trump sat down with the New York Times and revealed that Combs had sent him a personal letter asking for clemency. Trump held it up. He even said, "Oh, would you like to see that letter?" but never showed it. And then he said no pardon. Whatever Combs had been promising his fellow inmates evaporated. This is where the mystery lives. On December 24th, 2025, Christmas Eve, Combs' appellate attorney filed an 84-page appeal with the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. She asked for his immediate release. Her argument: the sentence was draconian and unprecedented for this type of conviction, and more specifically that the judge acted as a 13th juror, punishing Combs for crimes the jury had already acquitted him of. Here is the part that made legal analysts stop and pay attention. The Second Circuit granted expedited review. That is unusual. Courts don't fast-track appeals unless they believe the legal questions raised are serious enough to warrant urgent attention. The timeline moves fast. The government filed its response in February 2026. Combs' legal team replied in March. Oral arguments, where lawyers stand before the judges and argue face-to-face, are scheduled for April 9, 2026. Nobody knows what happens after that. The court could uphold the sentence. It could reduce it. It could, in a scenario almost no one is predicting, but none can rule out, overturn the conviction entirely. Sean Combs is currently scheduled to walk out of Fort Dix on April 25, 2028. But the April 9th arguments could rewrite that date entirely, in either direction. Former NBA guard Sebastian Telfair was released from Fort Dix in December 2025. He had spent time inside with Combs. When he got out, he gave a simple 5-word assessment: Diddy's gonna be Diddy. Other sources painted a more complicated picture. One described Combs as a man who still thinks he's in charge. A man treating Fort Dix like a luxury rehab. A man who had been warned about his behavior repeatedly and shown little interest in adjusting. And yet he enrolled in RDAP, the Residential Drug Abuse Treatment Program, the most intensive drug treatment program the federal system offers. 9 to 12 months. If he completes it, up to 1 full year could be cut from his sentence. Is that genuine? Is it strategy? Is it both? His good behavior credits have already moved his projected release date up by roughly 6 weeks, from June 2028 to April 2028. In prison, 6 weeks is not nothing. Meanwhile, outside the walls, at least 3 civil lawsuits continue. In February 2026, a Los Angeles judge allowed key claims, sexual battery, false imprisonment, to proceed to trial in one of those cases. The legal machinery outside Fort Dix keeps moving whether Combs is paying attention or not. Here's what we know for certain. A man who once ran a $1 billion empire is currently living in a bunk bed in New Jersey, working as a chaplain's assistant, waiting to hear what a panel of federal judges decides to do with the rest of his life. His hair has gone gray. His net worth has reportedly fallen by as much as 60%. The private jets are gone. The staff is gone. The parties are gone. What is not gone? The legal fight, the civil cases, the questions. The people who say he hasn't changed. The program that says he might have. And somewhere in a federal courtroom on April 9, 2026, a group of judges will sit down, listen to lawyers argue both sides, and begin deciding whether the story of Sean Combs ends in April 2028 or somewhere else entirely. We will be watching. Subscribe and hit the bell when the April 9th appeal verdict drops We'll cover it immediately. Don't miss it.